There comes a moment in life when silence becomes louder than applause, when doors no longer open because you're expected, but because you're forgotten, when no one asks for your advice, your presence, or your stories. You spent decades building, nurturing, giving. You were the one others leaned on, the one who knew what to do, the one who always made things work, even in silence. But time has a cruel rhythm. It praises you at your peak but gradually replaces your voice with younger echoes. And then one day, without warning, you realize that the world no longer depends on you. They no longer need your approval, no longer seek your experience. They keep moving. And you? You're still there, invisible in a house that once pulsed with life. This isn't about bitterness. It's about the deep ache that comes when your identity was tied to usefulness, when being needed was how you measured love, relevance, existence. What happens when you're no longer essential? What happens when your calendar empties, your phone stays silent, and your hands, once so busy, are now rest with no purpose? This is not about weakness. It's about a grief that society never taught us to name. Since childhood, we are praised for being helpful, for being productive, for doing something for others. We are rarely celebrated simply for existing, for being, for feeling. Love becomes conditional on performance. And so we learn to be needed, not to be ourselves. You learned early that your worth was in what you could offer. A clean room, a good grade, a favor done. You were clapped for being useful, not for being you. And so it continued. In relationships, in work, in family. You became the one who fixed things, who remembered birthdays, who sacrificed weekends. You were the reliable one, the strong one, the necessary one. But that identity, it's a trap dressed as virtue. Because one day when people no longer ask, when the job ends, when children grow up, you start to question your place in the world. Who are you when you are no longer needed? This isn't a failure. It's the echo of a system that never taught us how to simply be. There is a grief that no one speaks of, the loss of the role you once played. You were the mother, the provider, the counselor, the one people turned to. And now, silence. No one tells you how disorienting it is to no longer be the center of someone's world. You look in the mirror and see a face that time has softened, but beneath the wrinkles lies a question. Who am I now? The calendar has more empty days than full ones. The phone rings less. The house echoes with absence. And it's not just others who have forgotten you. Sometimes, it feels like you've forgotten yourself. Not because you've done something wrong, but because society only values what is active, productive, youthful. But your soul, it hasn't disappeared. It's waiting for you to remember that identity isn't fixed. It's allowed to change. And that maybe, this is the sacred moment to redefine who you are, not based on function but essence. They clapped for you once, at work, at home, in rooms where your presence meant something. But now the applause has stopped, and the silence is louder than ever. No more deadlines, no more demands, no more people needing you urgently. At first it felt like freedom, but soon, that freedom turned into weightlessness, as if you were floating away from everything that once held you. You start asking questions you never had time to ask. What was all that effort for? What remains when there's no one watching? This is the void after the applause. A space that feels hollow, but that secretly holds the power to rebuild everything from the inside. Because in that silence, you begin to realize your value was never in the noise you created, but in the presence you carry, in the story you've lived, in the stillness that speaks louder than any crowd. You may think you've lost everything, but what if the most important part never left? What if time hasn't taken it, only buried it under routines, under roles, under survival? Some memories don't fade. They're not forgotten, just quiet. They live in gestures, in scents, in the way your hands tremble when holding something delicate. You still carry the eyes of someone who has seen too much, the heart of someone who loved deeply, even if not perfectly, the silence of someone who stayed strong when they wanted to scream. And all of that is still you. The world told you to move on, to adapt, to let go. But maybe what you need isn't to forget. Maybe it's to remember the parts that made you feel most alive. Not what you did for others, not who you used to be, but the essence behind your gaze, the fire beneath the years. There's something inside you that time cannot touch. And when you find it again, you'll know you're not at the end. You're at the moment that matters most. Silence is not the absence of life. It's often the echo of everything you didn't say, everything you couldn't hold, everything that still matters. In the quiet after everyone has gone, there is a voice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It just waits for you to listen. And when you finally hear it, it won't be with your ears, but with the parts of your soul you thought were gone. If this touched you and you feel the echo of that silence speaking, write in the comments, "I still feel time." Share this video with someone who needs to remember it's not too late to give meaning to the time that remains. And if you want to keep breaking cycles of pain and finding purpose, subscribe now. I see beyond the veil of the silence that speaks.